Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us for instant reaction to the Premier League release of the fixtures for the 2022-2023 season. My God, that is a real mouthful. Don't I try to get that one out. If you're listening to the show for the first time, and where have you been the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years? We're going to keep on going 5, 6, 7, 8. You can find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word On Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And I'm joined by 3 of our great regulars on the Last Word On Spurs, giving us their thoughts and dissecting the fixtures that were released today, as I mentioned, for the 2022-2023 Premier League season. We'll be dipping our toes, if Jason allows us, into the transfer market, discussing one signing that looks very, very close to getting over the line. Another couple that we're going to have to keep an eye on and wait that little bit longer. But let's introduce our wonderful panel for tonight, joined by the man who took over the show and took it onto high standards than I've ever been able to in the last 5, 6, 7 years. Mr. Lee McQueen's in the house. Lee, how are you, mate?
Well, I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for that, Rick. But I was also joined by these two crazy people, and I think we got loads of views. I think we topped out the views here, lads. I don't we need to go and check the stats. But no, all jokes aside, fantastic, great to be back alongside rather than hosting. Although I did really enjoy it, and I got to say the last "Come on, you Spurs" at the end, which has always been a bit of an ambition of mine, Rick, since I've been involved in the pod. But yeah, really good, fantastic. I'm totally missing Antonio Conte. I tweeted about it yesterday. I've had enough. I need him back in my life. Hurry up, the football season.
It's so funny. I'm saying when we're Spurs at the moment, I've never quite gone into some of the last 5, 6, 7 years where there is so much excitement and hype around a new season to come along. Because sometimes when the new fixtures come out, you're still trying to get over the previous season. You don't want to think about the next one. But at the moment, we are so excited. And as he's over to one man, I know he's always very excited. And also this summer as well, Frankie Major, the Major, back on Last Word On Spurs. Frank, how are you, mate?
All good, thank you, mate. Very excited by the noise around Spurs at the moment, and this signing that we know is done, but it's not officially done yet. So I'm glad that we've seen the back end of that Nations League as well. What a disaster! So now we move on to the pre-seasons after a short break, and we get back into the swing of things with Spurs.
Absolutely, most certainly. And a man that is gladly sponsoring the England cricket team, not the footballing team tonight. And you can tell if you're watching live on YouTube, a man who kissing the crest. He may not have been kissing the crest for the England shirt. We've got the wonderful, and by his tag name, Jason. The golf's on. Jace, how are you?
Very good, mate. US Open's on, so forget the transfer talk. Get on with it. Cricket's been a brilliant week in the cricket. Lee met Monty Panesar. Stunning win for England in the cricket. The summer of sport is well and truly underway, mate.
Absolutely.
Soon be tennis.
Most certainly is.
Wimbledon soon.
We'll try and cover them all on tonight. We've got the Thai volleyball also coming along. If you want to throw a sport in, Jason, I'm sure, has seen it. And as Many says there, he has got the Waitrose outfit on there, actually. He really has got the Waitrose outfit on. Guys, we are recording bang on the day, of course, of the release of the Premier League fixtures. We're going to touch upon them in just a second. But just to also put it out there, as you guys will know by watching Last Word On Spurs, listening to Last Word On Spurs, and that, again, we've got an amazing show lined up. And again, it's sponsored by the brilliant guys over at the Beavertown Corner Pin. No doubt we'll be heading down the Corner Pin 100% sure. And again, that is opposite the stadium, bang opposite the South Stands, ahead of the home games next season, and to watch a lot of their key away games, the home win away feature, as Lee McQueen there shows and prides over the Beavertown glass in such its purity, as you can see on your screen there. They've actually got an exclusive offer right now for you lovely bunch. If you head over to beavertown.co.uk and use the code TOP4, and say it louder for Arsenal fans, TOP4 in all capitals, one word, that's 4, F-O-U-R, by the way. You can bag yourself 15% off all the beer on their website for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to find them over at www.beavertownbrewery.co.uk. And if you're watching the show live, you can also find that also in our YouTube pinned comments. Right, guys, let's get down to action. Today obviously saw the release of the 2022-2023 Premier League fixtures. Before we discuss them, Lee, was there an air of real excitement to see who Spurs were going to end up having on the first opening day of the season? And how long has it been since you've really felt like this as a Tottenham fan?
It's
the first time in my life. Lee McQueen is absolutely speechless. Have we got him? We might have him. We might not have him. I don't think Lee might have got the memo. Let's come around to Jason to start.
still
And
on
then let's come over to you, Jace. Jace, first, before we touch upon the fixtures, is there like a real air of excitement around Tottenham that even for you ever noticed in the last 3-4 years?
Without a doubt, the summer feels different, doesn't it? We're getting business done early. The old phrase that we keep constantly talking about is back the manager, and it appears like we're bringing in signings that fully back the manager. So that's a great thing. But it's been a good start. Work to do. Once a few, I think a lot of the transfer business anyway will be done. We've just had that Nations League, lots of players involved in that, so they'll go away on their holidays, and I think it will really kick in then in 2 weeks' time. But it's been a fantastic start to it, hasn't it? Bissouma pretty much across the line. I think we're safe to say that one's probably done. Whether they're just waiting for the work permit to be reissued because it's a new employer, and then hopefully that's done tomorrow and it can be confirmed tomorrow. But yep, it's definitely got that feel of a different summer. And I look at the betting for the Premier League, and we're in front of Chelsea as third favourites. So that's different from it would have been 6-8 weeks ago, isn't it? That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. At the moment, we are going to try and get Lee back. There's a comment says there, looks like Lee needs the NordVPN. We're going to give him a quick link to that and activate him back in a second. The first time ever I've seen Lee McQueen lost for word. Doesn't happen often on Last Word On Spurs, as you'll know from watching us, listening to us over the last 3-4 years. Lee's on his way back. Don't fear, don't panic. Frankie, let's come round to you. We know Spurs will begin their opening, as a home fixture against Southampton. It will actually be the club's first Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff since December 2019. And then, of course, we're going to finish the season away to Leeds United, where we'll be holding the Premier League title aloft. Don't kill my dreams, Frankie.
Incredible that is the first Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff in the league that we've had in that time. That is staggering. And I saw that earlier on social media, and I had to retweet it because it's incredible. But this is the perks that come with Champions League and not the Europa. I've never really been a big fan of Thursday, Sunday. I don't think anyone has really. And it's just nice to have that normality back. And the sun will be shining. You look at 4 of the first 5 fixtures, they are games that we lost last season, and the majority of them we shouldn't have. Southampton at home, we should always be beating Southampton at home. Wolves, I think Jason, you'll confirm this. Is it 4 of the last 5 they've beaten us at home?
I think 3 and 4.
3 and 4. Sorry, I beg your pardon. That has to be rectified, and obviously Chelsea away is the nightmare fixture, which I promised myself I'd never do again after the League Cup last season. So I've never seen us win there. So that coupled in obviously with West Ham away, which is a game that was a strange game last season. We lost 1-0 to a strange set piece. It was a terrible corner front post Antonio goal, if you remember. So we have to put right the wrongs. And they are, in my opinion, with the feel-good factor and how we've progressed and how we ended the season, particularly in comparison to Chelsea, who fell off a cliff for the second half of that season, they're winnable fixtures. And I'm not getting ahead of myself there. I mean, Stamford Bridge away is an awful game, but this feels like a new Spurs. There's a new confidence. There's a new unity. We've got the manager in place, and it seems like we're finally putting the squad in place. Obviously, as well, the Bissouma signing. This is a guy that absolutely bossed Chelsea at the Bridge last season. I know it was a draw, but I watched that game and he had Kovacic in his pocket. A great addition to the squad, and we need to continue to keep getting this business done. I was saying to you off air, Rick, that I believe that the Bissouma signing, it came out of nowhere because of lessons have been learned from the Diaz disaster in January, because that was a PR disaster. The news leaked. It looked like we'd submitted a bid, and then all of a sudden Liverpool came in and signed him. So I think there's been lessons that have been learned. I think we'll continue to do our business that way. I think we know about some of the targets. Jed Spence has been mentioned by some outlets. Apparently he signed, which hasn't happened yet. But there are targets we know, and I just hope we get them done. I hope we do our business under the radar and kick on from there. So Conte, by the time we go to Korea in early July, he's got everyone there as he wants, and he's also got the players out that he doesn't want. Yeah. So that's what we need now, because this, in my lifetime anyway, this has never happened at Spurs. In the last 20 years, we haven't done business this early. We haven't made 3 signings before the end of June. And I hope it continues and we continue to act like a big club for the first time in decades.
Yeah, absolutely. In the comments, Frank, many are agreeing with you. Now, it's probably the first time in the last 4 or 5 years that ever I've gone over to Lee McQueen and he's lost for words. I can see, Lee, there's still a slight flicker on that screen. So we are going to try again and bring in the crazy train instructor, the main man. Lee, come over to you. Give us your thoughts,
There's a
Lee.
train strike, and that's what's happening. He's caught up in the train strike.
Lee, can you hear us, mate? Can you see us?
No, there's a Wi-Fi strike in the McQueen household.
I've
tonight.
never
There's a
known.
Wi-Fi
This
strike.
is honestly, this is new heights.
Struggle.
Lee McQueen
But
struggling
in
to get a
fairness,
word out.
that's
Lee
the
McQueen.
most sense he's ever spoken.
What is going on? It's almost like someone's gaffer taped him. It's almost like someone's actually muted him. Like physically, it's mental. We are going to try and let Lee sort out the connection. Jace, let's just touch upon you, the opening cut of fixtures for Tottenham. And of course, we've seen obviously Spurs starting the season at home to Southampton before a difficult trip to Stamford Bridge to face Chelsea in the second week. Now, I think we've always seen starting at home is always the best way, ideally, to begin on paper. Last season, of course, we had Manchester City, which looked like a really tough game. Spurs navigated it, got a 1-0 win, of course, thanks to Heung-min Son. And as I mentioned, the fact Spurs' first 3 p.m. kickoff since December of 2019. I just wonder, Jace, do you think Conte will be happy to get that Stamford Bridge trip out of the way early? And also by the fact Chelsea might still be pretty much changing that side around by the time we are facing them in that second game of the season.
Yeah, possibly it will just come down to who's the most settled side and who's got their squad in place. You got to play them at some stage, so get them out of the way nice and early. We had them, in fairness, we had them early last season and we were on the back of 3 wins and then immediately got tonked 3-0, didn't we, by them at home. So it's never an easy fixture, but as Frankie said, just get it out of the way early before we worry. We saw that, the advantage of playing City, didn't we, early last season on that opening day when lots of people were on a downer. So, I mean, imagine if you could go there and get a positive result, what a lift that'd give you. I think, from my first reaction from the fixture list was, there's 19 teams looking forward to the fixture list, and there's one team that's already whinging and whining and think there's a conspiracy theory against them because they got to play on a Friday night at Palace. And you think, how can Arsenal fans already be moaning at the fixture list? I mean, we haven't even played a game and they're moaning. So that was the first thing that struck me with the fixture list. But when I just look at it as a broad overall, there's 2 seasons next year, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's not one season, it's 2 seasons. It's 16 games, and then there's the 22 that follow it. And I suppose if we ask ourselves, can we put ourselves in the mix, at least put ourselves in the mix with Liverpool and City? You'd say 16 games, you've probably, to be in the mix, got to be mid 30 points from those 16 games. You're looking at 11 wins, 3 draws and maybe 2 defeats type of thing. And when I look at that run of fixtures, you've got West Ham away, City away, Chelsea away, Arsenal away, Man United away, all in that first 16. So you're going to have to get some big away wins. Let's just say that. Not impossible to do, but we're going to have to, they're all games that we lost last year. All games that we lost, even Man United, where we played okay but lost. Arsenal lost, Chelsea lost, West Ham lost, or City we won. But you're going to have to pick up a couple of wins from those and a draw or something in one of the others. So it'll be a real test for us. But hopefully Conte gets everything in place in that pre-season and you can hit the ground running.
Yep, totally
Well,
agree.
that is certainly something that has to be rectified. The big 6 away games from last season were an absolute disaster. And even if we can pick up, as you said, a couple of draws and we need more wins, whatever. Whatever. If we want to compete with the top 2, we have to go and get wins at these places. But if we want to stay and improve and maybe attach ourselves to the top 2 and establish ourselves as the 3rd best team, see progress basically, we have to pick up points at least at these big away games.
Yeah, spot on. Right, 3rd time lucky, I'm hoping. Let's try and go across to Lee McQueen. Lee, any luck? Can you hear us, Lee? Can you see us? This is, honestly, I know people are absolutely loving this, but he's trying to speak. No. Jason's reaction. We have got to try and get Lee back. This is no joke aside. We will try and get Lee's connection sorted out.
I can hear and see you.
Oh man, we lost him. We are gonna try and look at Jason. I love the fact Frank is so the serious look on Frank's face, thinking, "What is going on here? This is not good enough." We are going to try and bring Lee back in a second. I just
Frank,
want to
turn
ask...
your light out. Complete the set, mate. Do it in the dark again.
There's always an issue with one of us, but just going back to what we said about the fixtures as well. I actually didn't realise that. I was fixated really on the first 5 or 6 games, and obviously the Arsenal home and away game, which is the first one you look out for. But to play all of those teams away before the World Cup, in the context of the season where it is divided, if we can have a positive start, or certainly more positive than last season, then that allows us in the second half of the season to obviously have technically an easier run of games and at the business end. So I don't necessarily mind the way that those fixtures have fallen. And ultimately, you've got to play these games at some point anyway, haven't you? And after the World Cup, the likelihood is there'll be more injuries, there'll be more fatigue than prior to the World Cup. So I'd rather get the difficult games out of the way before then rather than after.
Yeah,
I think the real run to look at was the middle of January to the end of February, and we have 4 successive home games: Arsenal home, City home, West Ham home, Chelsea home. Yep. So what a run of home games, and then you can get some serious momentum from those as well.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that. Before I do, I'm just conscious I do want to give Lee the chance to discuss the opening of the fixtures. Bearing in mind when he does.
Why? We'll have played the first fixture by the time Lee talks about it.
We'll be midway
then there'll be no cricket on. I mean, that's how bad it is.
We'll be at the cups by the time Lee gets back on. Frankie, just coming around to you. You know the Chelsea game. Interestingly, obviously, that the fact that Conte said back in March that he wanted another crack at Chelsea after those 3 defeats, as we all can't really forget. He said, "I would like to have another chance to see which is our level," and I'm sure now our level has improved a lot. Well, the fact Spurs are second game now in for Chelsea. How do you see that playing out now, Frank, in terms of the 2 teams? Are they on more of a level playing field, or is it difficult to tell this early on into the summer where we're really still unknown to what Chelsea's business looks like? Looks like Lukaku's going to go out the door for them. Spurs obviously going to do more business. How do you see those 2 teams now in terms of the playing field?
Well, there's certainly been a momentum shift, but obviously there were mitigating circumstances with Chelsea and the noise surrounding them, and we've got to be obviously mindful of that. But the momentum certainly, you can carry momentum from the end of one season if you are on a good run into the beginning of the next. And there has been a momentum shift between 2 clubs. The big difference as well for me, as you just touched on, is the fact that we seem to be getting our targets identified early and the business done. And they're all over the place. I mean, we don't know what's happened with their captain, Aspilicueta. Marcos Alonso apparently might be moved on. Christensen's moved on. Rudiger's moved on. Lukaku wants to move on. Jules Koundé, who's their number 1 defensive target at centre-back, been injured. He's aggravated quite a long-term injury and international duty. So it seems like there's a difference, because usually it's Chelsea who getting the business done early and spending money early in the window, and it's us that have got the uncertainty. So a lot has changed. You look at that, and I'm not going to go early and say, yeah, we'll go to the bridge, we'll go and get a fantastic win and beat them, because our record there is absolutely abysmal. But it gives us a better chance. The place we're in and where we've been at the back end of last season, or particularly since Conte got into the players, got his methods over to them, to where we are now, is completely different. So I'm more confident going there than I had been for the last few years, definitely.
No, great points there. I mean, let's bring in a man, 4th time lucky, who has changed his tag name from Lee McQueen to should have used NordVPN. And all the times I was being ribbed about NordVPN, you can't make this up. Let's go over to Lee McQueen, 4th time lucky. Have we got you, Lee?
Hello. Can you hear me?
We got you, bud.
Yes,
got you.
finally. Oh, my word. So sorry, everybody. Leave it out. I've just had to reboot 3 times. So I'm just sorting some chaos out. I think my Wi-Fi is just getting battered. So I'm on my phone, it's a bit shaky. But I've been in Ubers a few times during the season, so I'm sure this is a lot better.
It's funny though. People say go back in the Uber.
I know, get back in the Uber, innit? Should have used the old NordVPN.
Tell us, Lee, opening fixtures for you. Quick summary of the opening fixtures. How did you find they've come out?
Yeah, I've been trying to download them all day on my Wi-Fi. I ain't even seen them. No, look, I think Southampton. What we got? Southampton, Chelsea, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Dad'd be pleased. We've got Forest. We've got West Ham. Look, they're all tough games. I don't fancy at all. I mean, I think it'd been an amazing away day, but I don't fancy us going up there and battering Forest at their ground, for example. I think we'll win. I think playing Chelsea so early is a little bit of an omen after what Antonio Conte said earlier in the season when he said, "Ready now? I'd like to face Chelsea."
What
I
did he
heard
say?
obviously snippets of. Are you joking? Are you joking? No, you can't. You
It's
can.
fine. It's fine. That's fine. It's a little trigger. We got you. You're all good.
Yeah. So so he basically said, didn't he? Like, I wish I could play Chelsea now. We've got our momentum and where we are and all that sort of stuff. So playing Chelsea at the Bridge so early on is give us an indication. I think playing City, the first home game of the season, or last season. Did we say last season now? I think we say last season now, don't we?
I think I've said last season.
Was a bit of a blessing. Yeah, I think that was a bit of a blessing. So, look, I think there's some tough games in there, but it's Premier League. They're all tough games. I think what we're building now with the signings that we've made already and the signings that we're reportedly going to make and the players that we're going after, I don't think there can be any excuses about, we can't win at West Ham if we've got a Champions League game, because we should be able to do that now, because we genuinely are building a squad with two players in each position that can go and really tear something up. And look, I'm always optimistic, and I'm also deluded sometimes. Not just when it comes to Spurs, when it comes to lots of things, to be honest. But that's just my nature, and I genuinely think that we can have a go. Conte is here because he wins leagues. He's won 5 leagues out of the last 8 seasons. And half of one of them seasons with Tottenham wasn't even a full season, didn't get a pre-season as well. So he had none of his players in there for most of that period of time. So you could maybe not judge him on that. Getting top 4, I thought, was an amazing achievement from him as a coach. So he's here to win stuff, and he's here to win leagues, generally to win leagues. And I think that the club coming out and giving 150 million and saying that we're going to back him and all the stuff that Jason and Frank said already is so positive. I've never been in going into a summer transfer window as positive as we are. I don't, even under Pochettino and stuff, when we were, everybody's got to remember, I'm sure you don't forget, but when Poch had his first season in 2014, the season after that, we challenged for the title. And we were buying players like, with great respect, I love him now, but we were buying players like Eric Dyer for £3 million in that closed season. And Eric Dyer played he debuted against West Ham away. It was a 92nd minute. He scored. I think Harry Kane actually put him through as an assist, weirdly enough. But anyway, he scored, and we went on to challenge that year. So I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Liverpool 75 points the season before, they got 97 points. That was a 22-point swing when they recruited well in that summer. When they'd already got Virgil van Dijk in January, and then they recruited Alisson and Nebi Keita and I think it's Shaqiri and all these guys, and they recruited well, and they had a 22-point swing. You go and put 22 points or 20 points on top of our points total from this year, we're in and amongst it, and that's, I think, where we need to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, again, a big difference, as I mentioned just before Lee came back on. Another huge difference is Rudiger has always been a bit of a thorn in our side. He's always plays well against Spurs. He's not there. Bentancur and Kulusevski are now with us. Romero's had a season in the Premier League and he's only getting better. And as I said, we've got Bissouma, who absolutely bossed Chelsea off the park at the Bridge last season, and they won't have Rudiger, and we'll have these players. So there has been a big shift in personnel since we last played them at the Bridge.
Did Romero play any of the games at the Bridge?
I think he did when Harry Kane's goal was disallowed. When we lost for the
did he play that one?
Yeah.
Did he? No, Eric Dyer didn't play, but he did.
Right. That's right. Yeah. We didn't have Dyer that night.
I'm saying he's more in a rhythm now, and his form. He was plagued with injuries last season, and again the personnel that we have added, and the ones that you're going to take away from Chelsea, there's a big shift there for me in quality and momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. Just some key dates for the diary, of course. First game Southampton, first away game Chelsea, last match before the World Cup, Leeds at home, Boxing Day Brentford, New Year's Eve, Aston Villa, North London derby dates for you, away 1st of October, Jan 14th home, and then obviously final game of the season away to Leeds United. The fixtures against
Subject to them turning up, of course.
Yeah, subject.
Same weekend as last year, isn't it? You never know. Bit cold, the weather, and they might bottle it again.
They might do. Very good point there. I was going to say the fixtures against the big six. Obviously, this is obviously subject to Arsenal turning up. August the 13th, Chelsea away. September the 10th, Man City away. October the 1st, if they turn up, Arsenal away. October the 19th, Manchester United. November the 5th, Liverpool at home. January the 14th, Arsenal at home. February the 4th, Man City at home. February the 25th, Chelsea at home. April the 25th, Man United at home. April the 29th, Liverpool away. And I think it's interesting, the first Spurs 6 games, as we mentioned, Spurs at home to Southampton. Obviously, Chelsea away for Tottenham. Wolves, obviously, at home for Tottenham. Nottingham Forest away for Spurs. West Ham, obviously, it's a away fixture for Tottenham. And obviously, we're home for Fulham. What's quite interesting is that we lost 4 of our opening 6 fixtures last season. And we've got Forest and Fulham in the Championship. So it's a really good early opportunity coming over to you, Frankie, to really gain some points on that early part of the season. And I think it's also crazy. We've got 9 games to play in October. It's a crazy Celtic fixture list, even at this point, looking at it, Frankie.
It's ridiculous. And it's obviously a legacy of awarding the World Cup to Qatar, which never made any sense. And unfortunately, it's going to have an impact on the season, and it will be congested. We're not now getting our Christmas games. The schedule's going to resume on Boxing Day. So that's another thing that we miss out on, tradition. However, we just need to pack the squad with depth and quality players in those positions as well. I mean, centre midfield already looks brilliant compared to this time last year. We've added Bentancur and Bissouma. Ollie Skip had a stop-start season last year, but started very well. And obviously Højbjerg, who did have a bit of a dip in form, but this is a guy who doesn't miss games. He's even admitted subsequently that he was playing injured. So that's a fantastic 4, in my opinion. And we have Pape Sarr back. I don't know what they'll be doing with him, but again, this is a young player with lots of potential. I'm not sure if they'll use him for, say, the League Cup games. But you've got 5 there immediately. And obviously it seems like Harry Winks will go out the door along with Tanguy Ndombele and Gio Lo Celso. So going back to what you said about congestion and all of these games in such a short period of time, this is why we need a squad. This is why Conte wants to sign 6 to 8 players, or that's what was said prior to the beginning of this little period of signing players. And this is why we'll continue to add quality to the squad and players that he wants. And obviously a huge part of this as well is getting the players out of the door that he doesn't want. And again, this is why it's imperative, and it has been important, to secure his targets early, keep the man happy. Fundamental to our season is to get a good pre-season with these players, because they're going to have to hit the ground running, and they're going to have to be fitter than they've ever been, because this is a season like no other, with more games than they've ever played, throwing in a World Cup in the mix, and having this Nations League and these pointless internationals, in my opinion, that we've just had as well. I mean, these players are going to be absolutely shattered come February or March. And 2 key players for us, who I believe will be key players for us, fortunately, not fortunately for them, won't be going to this World Cup. And one of them is Kulusevski and one of them is Bissouma. And they could be key in this season for us, because, as I said, I do believe come sort of February and that running, the back end of the season, I think there's going to be lots of muscle injuries to some of these players, because it's just, in my opinion, to play this much football is unsustainable. And the players have been vocal about it as well. Yeah. Lots of them are, I mean, Luka Modric was the latest one, wasn't he, today, to say, how on earth have we played 4 fixtures at the back end of the season like that? It's insane. So that sort of thing will impact who wins trophies this season for me. I can't think of, when the League Cup starts, I can't think of even a Championship side that will put even a near strength team out in those first rounds of fixtures, because it would just be impossible. Every team's going to want to get off to a good start in their respective league. And it will just be, there'll be a lot of surprises, or a few surprises rather, because of the context of the season and the different nature to it.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
That Carabao Cup's a strange one, because the rounds where we go in, round 3, we don't play that until the middle of November. So, which is a lot later.
Earlier rounds that are in August.
The earlier rounds 1 and 2 or whatever is early. Then you get the strange one is round 4, which is 3 days after the World Cup final, and it's 7 weeks after we've last played a game. So, and even going into that Boxing Day game, what will clubs do between the last Premier League game and that Boxing Day game? can you arrange pre-season friendlies? Because I think the Championship and the League 1s and 2s, they're still playing, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's not even as if you can say, well, I'll tell you what, we'll have a game against Birmingham or Ipswich or Watford or something. So you're going to be struggling to think, who are we going to play a friendly against for players that haven't gone to the World Cup to try and get back into rhythm? And you're going straight into let's be honest, we want to win a trophy this year. Yep. So that Carabao Cup game could be a really important game for us, even more so than the league game against Brentford. And yet we could well have players that haven't kicked a ball for 6 or 7 weeks playing in it.
I think they'll be behind closed doors. I think there'll be behind closed doors games with a lot of our under-23s and the likes of Kulusevski, Bissouma, players potentially that have exited the World Cup at the group stage as well, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but that's the best you can do, isn't it? But it's not ideal, is it? You'd ideally like to have a couple of proper games to just get some rhythm and that going again. And you don't know who the hell's going to be available for those games because, as you said, you're stuck with thinking who's still in a World Cup and who isn't. But that, in fairness, that affects every team.
Yeah. Does it feel, Lee, coming over to you, like this is a season like almost no other? It feels like you kind of got 2 seasons rolled into one because of the World Cup and the nature and where that falls. How do you feel, Lee, we're going to cope with this in terms of the season? Is it going to be a benefit that Conte can almost strategically break it down like that into almost 2 seasons?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. Like it is a season like no other, but it's also like a season we had recently in COVID when COVID first hit and we had that massive mid-season break and all of these things that were happening exactly the same thing, really. It was just happening to literally everybody and every player. So I don't know, maybe we've got some learnings from that 2020 break and how that kind of worked and maybe it would be the same. But you are right. I mean, it is uncharted territory. No one's done it before. I think the only thing you could say, and it isn't exactly a science because there's a lot of different teams in the league that don't have internationals, but it is the same for everyone. And I know it's not exact science, but as Jason just made the point there, like actually, if you've got people that are not at the World Cup, what are they doing? Twiddling their thumbs, and are they going to be in a worse condition than players that are playing in the World Cup? I mean, we saw a huge amount of issue and noise around Harry Kane last summer, which was all about Man City. But I still have in the back of my mind that was about missing out on a major trophy for England as well. I don't. If you go back and look at the form of all them England players that came back, the Sterlings, the John Stones, the Jack Grealishes, Harry Kanes, Luke Shaw. Where's he been all season? Sorry,
Harry Maguire.
Harry Maguire, absolutely a mental as a shocker. So I just think that mentally, as well as physically, talking about physically not playing the games or whatever, mentally, if we go out in a penalty shootout, like after 120 minutes of football and then a penalty shootout in the World Cup final, how are these players going to come back and play a League Cup fixture 4 days later or Brentford? Do you know what I mean? Like, what state of mind are they even going to be in? And actually, if we don't get into a final and we get out in the quarterfinals, that's probably mentally going to be just as bad, isn't it? Because we've underperformed and Southgate's out and Kane's rubbish and he dives and he only takes penalties and, whatever. So, it is a weird one. But I think what you can only do is plan the way, to be honest, the club's going about it. I mean, I think Paratici and Conte have transformed the thinking of the football club. You can clearly say, 3 signings with the window like 5 days old. That's absolutely craziness. Like, what's going on in this world? So I think that get the players in early, like Lad said earlier, Rick, and get the pre-season done. I think we're mega excited about that and see where we can go. I think you might have said this, Jace, right at the beginning when I was cutting in and out, but where the fixtures of we don't have an international break where we normally do. Normally have an international break, don't we? Like September. And we haven't obviously got that now. So we're going to have a longer run up until that World Cup. So like you say, the first half of the season is going to be crucial. You need to have points in the bag so you can go away with your respective countries and then come back and finish the job.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think Lee makes a good point there.
Great point.
I was just going to say that. The international run, and there's usually 3 international breaks before November or the end of November. You've just got 1 international break before that World Cup, which is right at the end of September when you have those 2 Nation League games, Italy and Germany. So it's not a pointless game against friendly against Slovenia or something. They play those games and then that's it. International football's done. So you've got a proper run of what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 or 8 Premier League games before that. And then you've got a nice run of the other 8 after it. So that's one advantage of the way the season's been
and
structured.
You want to be out of them 8 games, you know, realistically, and this is again, I think a point that we made on the last show that we did, when you were sunning yourself, mate. You know what I mean? But no, and the point was that Conte has set up. We might have said this on the WhatsApp group. Like when he first came in, he 10 games unbeaten at Tottenham in the league, and then we had that funny period, didn't we? We were chatting about this the other day. The funny period of win a game, lose a game, win a game. I mean, it was absolutely horrific period. And when we got through that, we went 9 games unbeaten again. I think we lost 1 in our last 11, which I think when, I know not a lot of people talked about it because of the furore at the end of the season and all that. But that, you know, if we can go completely unbeaten until that first international break, we'll be in and amongst it for sure. Come the World Cup and after.
Yeah,
it's
a really good
just to add about the internationals is another positive is that, as you said, it's all in one break. It's all in one place. So we're not having Romero flying out to Argentina at 3. Do you remember that absolutely killed his start to the season, his rhythm off the back of his, and Lo Celso at the time as well, who obviously was playing for us, but it killed their rhythm. He was coming off the back of an injury anyway, and we won't have players flying here, there, and everywhere on these long haul flights. They're going to Qatar. It's one trip, staying in one place, so there's less travel involved as well, which we all know has a knock-on effect with fatigue. So that's a great point that you've all raised there, and hopefully this can sort of be a positive for us rather than a negative.
I just think it's planning. Like, I know we've got to move on, Rick. Sorry, mate, but I think it's just planning. Like having the football people making the football plans for the club in this type of a season is fantastic, and I think that we're going to reap the benefits for it. I genuinely think that it's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, spot on. I do just want to. What we will do is before we go for our first break of the show, Bram on the screen. It says, "Hopefully, us Yankees can knock England out in the group stage, and the boys can rest up."
No chance, Bram. No chance.
Why don't Pat at the moment? No, you fancy England against England the way it's going?
Depends. You might. I mean, if we got Aaron Ramsdale in goal, it's quite possible.
It's only apply for something I've watched it, the AFTV clip, when they've got that bloke going, "We've got Aaron effing Ramsdale."
that is etched in my brain. That clip of him, like a crazed wild man.
He must have been paid for that interview. He was superb. Honestly,
it was incredible.
Since that interview went, it was like downhill. What we will do is we will go for our first break of the show. For our listeners out on audio, for our watching audience on YouTube, there's over 500 plus of you watching us live. So thank you so much for all your support during a season or a break of a season so far, where we look ahead to the 2022-2023 Premier League fixtures, and also touching our toes into the transfer window for Jason McGovern's benefit. Now, just very quickly, want to just discuss the falling of the fixtures for the Champions League weeks, because I think this is quite important to Spurs. The following midweek games this season, Spurs in the Champions League, they'll play against Man City away, Leicester City at home, Brighton away, Everton at home, Bournemouth away, Liverpool at home. Now, we know Spurs are scheduled to start their Champions League journey, the first group stage game coming on the 6th or the 7th, and then just days later, we've got a scheduled travel to City. I tell you what, I mean, what do you make, Lee, of the way those fixtures fall during those Champions League dates? How important is that we manage that squad carefully, and probably the reason why you're seeing already Spurs making their move in the transfer market?
Yeah, completely. And I think a lot of us were probably a bit worried about getting Champions League football in a kind of perverse way, on the basis that we had some of the players before Conte came in. Imagine getting top 4 with Nuno. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but imagine getting top 4 with Nuno and having the likes of Davinson perform the way he did earlier in the season, and Winks playing the way he's done in and out of the team, and Højbjerg as well. I mean, I think Højbjerg in the last half of the season was absolutely outstanding. Like people were saying, get rid of him. I thought he was amazing in the second half of the season. So, there's no doubt that Conte has done what he's done, and improved all of them types of players. But now adding to them types of players, if you can now not drop. I think that's a bit harsh. I love Ben Davies. I thought he's brilliant this season, absolutely brilliant. Genuinely, I'm not even joking. I thought he was amazing. Same with Eric Dyer. Called that one early, Rick. To be fair, but both of them, I know we're looking at Bastoni, and I personally really want him in because I think that's who Conte really wants. But imagine knowing that you've got a Bastoni there or Pau Torres or whoever, but knowing also that you've got Ben Davies there. I mean, that is a complete... Who have we got a left centre-back now? Oh, if Ben Davies gets injured. Who have we got if Kane gets injured? Who have we got, like Frank said earlier, them 4 central midfield positions, they're a joke. They're actually a joke. It's actually frightening. Like, them 4, all of them, I don't care who plays. You can talk about drop-in and second string and whatever. But if Bentancur and Højbjerg turns up against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and then in the Champions League game, he plays Skip and he plays Bissouma, or he plays Bissouma and Bentancur, he plays Skip. Does it matter, lads? Like for me, I think they're generally top class players in them positions. That's exactly what Conte wants in his building. And now, obviously, Paratici's still cooking, and they need to get that in other areas of the pitch as well. Yes, we want to see Perisic left wing back, but would you be that bothered if Sessegnon's coming in? Whereas previously, you'd be bothered if the understudy, if you like, inverted commas, was coming in. You're like, oh man, we've got Emerson Royale instead of. Do you know what I mean? But it was actually, we're building out a squad now where, like Davinson Sanchez, I thought he had a good season. I thought he had a good season last year. And actually, as an understudy, if you like, to Romero, I think he'd be brilliant for that. But so I wouldn't want to sell Davinson Sanchez. Do you get where I'm coming from? So for me, then the way he manages that team and the way he manages them fixtures is important. What I will quickly say, because I appreciate that was a long ramble, but what I'll quickly say is Conte's for the league. Make no bones about it. Don't get deluded with the fact that we think we're going to go and win 3 cups and not win the league. He wants to win the league. So give or take, if he had a choice, he would go for the league more than he would go for the cup. He's played 15 Champions League matches in his career, and he's only won 3.
Well, that is exactly what I was going to kind of bring it on to, the fact that how we're going to manage, this period in between the Champions League involvement with the fixtures. I mean, Jay's coming over to you. We know, obviously, the first group game for Spurs will come 3 or 4 days after, the second match against, of course, the newly promoted side in terms of Fulham, before we obviously face our first Champions League opponents. Then, obviously, for us, match day 2, September the 13th, 14th. This will be Conte's test against the second European side. And as Lee mentioned there, Conte so far in terms of Champions League, he's not really felt at home with it so far. His record isn't very good. I mean, do you agree with Lee there, Jace, that for Conte it will all be about the Premier League and trying to find a way to navigate the Champions League, essentially?
I think they'll Champions League, they'll just look to get out the group, and then anything else from there is they'll look at as a bonus. Let's go into the second half of the season with Champions League football, which helps you in that January transfer window if you're still looking for players and you've still got Champions League football. But I think that's the crucial thing. Just get yourself through the group. But like Lee, I think that the key to him is doing well in the Premier League. He's winning the Premier League. That's the target. But if the worst comes to the worst and we don't win it, but we pick up an extra 15 points, and so that by the time we play, I don't know, Liverpool away at the end of April, we can sit back and say this year, well, Champions League is pretty much done. We're on 80 points already type of thing. So he'll definitely want to establish himself as the best of the rest, that's for sure, to show that you're still going in that right direction. And I don't think he'll want to go into the last couple of the weeks of the season thinking, God, we need Arsenal to drop points and we need to win. He'll want that Champions League top 4 position pretty much done by match day 31, 32, and it's done. So that you can concentrate on other things. But yeah, I do agree with Lee. He wants the big one. But we I suppose as fans accept that it's still hard to catch both of those clubs, and that the Cups probably gives you the best chance for us.
I mean, interestingly, Frank, coming over to you, that match day 2, which is going to fall between that period of September 13th, 14th, it's, that second game for Spurs in Europe will come a few days after that match against Man City. And when you maybe take into account if Spurs are going to be away in the Champions League, that's going to be a very, very tough match to then come back. When you look at City, travelling back before that trip to there. So how do you think, Frankie, Conte will essentially be able to navigate Premier League, Champions League? Because as the boys have touched upon, hasn't really got a strong Champions League record. And you do feel for Conte, his focus is going to be on the league. And I think that's why you're seeing Spurs making moves fast in this summer transfer window so far.
Well, he did reach the 2020 Europa League final, if you remember, because Eriksen actually lost back-to-back. He lost the Champions League final. And then, in 2019, he lost the Champions League final with us. And in 2020, he lost the Europa League. So there's a little bit of pedigree there. Ultimately, that came off the back of being knocked out of the Champions League with Inter. So obviously, his failure got him there, but he still has got perhaps a better European pedigree than we're saying, because that record is poor in the Champions League. I'm not denying that, but he's still got to a European final. But it's going to be tough. But this is obviously what you want. These are the dilemmas you want as a fan, because you want to be in the Champions League and you want to be dining or competing at the top table in the Premier League. And this is what comes with the territory. And all the big clubs do it and navigate their way through. We had it under Pochettino. He was trying to compete for the league and he was getting us quite far in the Champions League at times. So I think they'll be the focus, those two. And I, as much as I want us to win the FA Cup, I'd love to see us lift it. I do think he'll prioritise the Premier League and the Champions League. And I think you'll see in the FA Cup and the League Cup, he'll probably juggle it a bit and perhaps, but definitely in the League Cup, that's where you might see Bissouma play, or you might see, you know, a peripheral player play. But and this is all part of what I was saying earlier in the show, and Jason and I discussed. This is why you need a squad. This is why you need your targets in early. This is why this pre-season is more fundamental to a squad than any other before. You need to get fit. You need to be in a rhythm to hit the ground running, because it's going to be a season like no other. So obviously it's also played for. It will be difficult. It will be extremely difficult. But these are the dilemmas, as I said, that we want as fans.
And in a strange way, Rick, as well. I mean, when you just look at the fixture list now, you don't know if we'll be at home on the Tuesday night and City be away on the Wednesday. And then
exactly,
play.
that's the problem.
But I guarantee you one thing.
Go on.
Pep will be worried about that fixture already.
Totally.
We're his bogey team. We are his bogey team.
Oh no, the last team we wanted between two Champions League group games was a game against Tottenham, because you know, and it's not just last year, it's the repetitive thing. They don't like playing us. They do struggle against us. And so he'll be worried about that fixture as much as we will.
Totally. And I think such good points as well, lads and listeners and viewers. But, you know, this is what we want, right? We want these big games. We want these problems. This is, you don't want to be sitting out and playing football on a Thursday night, do you? Oh, hang on. Anyone in the room here? Anyone in the room? No, but you don't know, do you? Let's be honest. You want these challenges, you know. I think personally, if it was me, and thank goodness for everybody watching and listening,
and the Wi-Fi connections out there.
Yeah, but look, if it was me, I would be prioritising the Premier League over the Champions League, for example. But you don't want to go to Champions League and get ruined. I totally get that, and we won't be. But if and this is what Frank made an amazing point a minute ago, and right at the beginning of the show, this is what having the squad's all about. Like, this is what I'm trying to say to you. Like, and it would just. I think the midfield's complete now, other than an attacking midfielder, which might come into our forward line as a Richarlison or, Rafinha or whatever, or Christian Eriksen type or whatever. But the point is, out of them four central midfield players, honestly, are you bothered what combination he puts in? Because what I'm saying to you is, if he plays Bentancur and Bissouma in the Champions League versus fucking, I don't know, Real Madrid, right? And then 3 days later, he plays Højbjerg and Skip against Man City. Are you bothered? Like, because you've got to trust him.
You have to trust him.
No, the point is they're all good enough. That's what my point is. They've all proved that they're good enough.
Exactly.
So we need to just do that in them other areas, which is what we're doing in the transfer market, which is why it's so exciting. That's I suppose the point I'm making. So it shouldn't really matter. Like, football fans, we're funny. We're funny people, aren't we? Like, all of a sudden we moan or we have a whinge and we're negative about, we ain't got a big enough squad. And then when we've got a big enough squad, we're like, oh yeah, but they're not going to be happy sitting on the bench. No, this is the whole point. One, you might end up playing 60 games, right, in a season. So that means for 2 in every position, you could have 30 games a season. That's a decent season with a World Cup in the mix in the middle of it as well. Each of them players are probably going to end up playing best part of 35, 38 games anyway, which is a whole season. So this is what big club mentality is about. I think, to be fair, I know Jay definitely hates him, but that was what Jose used to talk about in terms of mentality about thinking big. I've seen some comments in there. Realistic targets are winning a League Cup or whatever, but that's not what Conte's here for. Like breaking news at the bottom of your screen, he is not here to win a League Cup. He is here to win the league. And he's turned around to the board and he said, you need to get me into a position where I can challenge, because if I am in that position, I'll win you the league. Because that's the sort of guy he is. I don't know if you agree with that. That's the sort of guy
he is, because if he wasn't, he would have walked.
He wouldn't be here.
This is what happened at Inter Milan. It happened at Inter Milan. He is a manager that he wants to win now. And if he feels that he can't win now, he'll leave that club. And he doesn't care about his finances. He'll walk away.
Yep. Rich on the screen, it says, obviously, Richard Cracknell, one of our own. He'll be back on Last Word On Spurs very, very soon. Rich says a cup is desperately needed next season. Every ex-player I speak to builds the appetite to push on and achieve more. Totally agree with Rich, and I wouldn't be bad.
I agree with that as well, to be fair, Crackers.
Listen, Cup, League, we don't care. Silverware, bring it in. We do need it, 100% for sure.
The European Cup is a cup, isn't it?
Exactly, it's a cup. It's all a cup. It is all a cup. Interestingly, Jace, you brought it on earlier, the fact that, where those games fall and the fact City will be concerned about playing Tottenham on that match day 2. The third match of the group, that could even be a tougher week for Tottenham, because we've got a few days later the North London derby coming. That obviously is going to be the first trip to the Emirates, and it will be a week where Conte, we're going to have to, again, try and navigate and keep pace in both competitions. I suppose, like you said, it's very early on, Jace, to be able to find a way of knowing at this stage how those fixtures are going to pan out, whether they're even going to turn up for that game, Arsenal.
I think the Arsenal away game actually comes after the international break and before match day 3. It's wedged between the England games and match day 3. So, as a squad, you won't have players meeting up for that Arsenal game until possibly Wednesday, possibly Thursday. I think the Nations League, I think the last game's on the Tuesday now, aren't they? I think international weeks. So everyone should be back on the Wednesday. I suppose that game, because we'll have Champions League 3, match day 3, and they'll have Europe next week, I would imagine that game might end up being the Saturday late game, the 5:30 game or something like that, the Arsenal game. Wouldn't surprise me. Or it could be the lunchtime kickoff. But I doubt that will become a Sunday game for a change this year. So, little bits and things like that make a difference as well. How quick are you playing them? Are you on that Saturday 12 o'clock kickoff, or are you on a Sunday 4 o'clock after an international week? That makes a huge difference.
We definitely worried about that, didn't we, lads? When we were in the Beavertown corner pin, which sponsors the podcast, by the way, absolutely outstanding. Get the neck oil out, get the old laser crush. But no, we were in the pub, weren't we, in the Beavertown corner pin, and we were talking about, man, it was the ball before the Burnley game, wasn't it, lads? And we were like, whoa, a midday.
We didn't want the Sunday early, did we?
What is that all about? And and I think we put it to bed against Leeds, didn't we? Have a 12:30 kickoff against Leeds, didn't we? And we smashed them 4-0, and we've always been worried about that. And you are right; it does make the circumstances. Who knows if we're going to get injuries or not get injuries? One point I just wanted to quickly make on that league piece is that other clubs have a responsibility as well. They got to take some points off of City and Liverpool. Like, we were the only team to take points proper, double them out. We didn't lose to Liverpool, and we beat City twice. No other team in the league did that last season. Other teams have got to step up. So when Newcastle start strengthening, don't be worried about it, Tottenham, because we're way ahead of Newcastle. Don't worry about that. But it's good, because then it means that Newcastle are going to give City and Liverpool a tougher game. When Villa are strengthening, they're going to give them a tougher game. And I know you can say, well, they're going to give Tottenham a tougher game, but we'll look after our own. But other teams have got to take.
Arsenal might be able to press them again though for 20 minutes. So right.
They can press them for 20 minutes, mate.
Well, they might be able to press Aston Villa and Newcastle, you mean?
But do you see where I'm coming from? Do you know what I mean? It's important, isn't it, that we need the league to be really competitive. We want the Newcastles and the Aston Villas or whatever to be ambitious. The Leicester had a bad season, didn't they, last year? That in terms of where they've been in the league for the last few seasons, they need to step it back up. So actually, if they start taking, even if it's nicking a draw and putting, and taking a couple more points off the other top two, it means that we can get a bit closer. And incidentally, Jace, you made the point earlier, if we can grab another 15 points this season and take us to 86, which, by the way, would be our record, our club record in a top division, that would also win us the league in 30 Premier League years. that would have won us the league 26 times. 26 times that would have won us the league. 86 points.
Yeah. That's
but now the bar is
now.
raised.
Exactly.
Liverpool and City have just pushed the bar, and that is the level now. It's so tough.
Yeah, we have to find a way of getting them other teams taking points off them as well, because I don't think Spurs are going to get 100 points next season, or 99 points, or 98 points. Personally, I don't think that, but I think that we can be in and amongst them. I think we can get 86. I think we can get 90, but it's going to be tough.
I tell you, it is really exciting. Just to finalise and finish up on the Champions League involvement, so match day 4 for Tottenham, that will come 3 or 4 days after a trip to Brighton, and then Spurs will welcome Everton. So again, fixture-wise, with Conte, we're going to see how this balances out. And the last couple for Tottenham, match day 5, and this is where you're hoping by match day 5 and 6, this is where Jason always talks about, hopefully we've got the job done by then, and you can kind of, to some degree, take the foot off the accelerator. Match day 5, Spurs see a weekend tie against Newcastle, and that's where hopefully Spurs will have built on a really solid start to the season. And then finally, match day 6, which will fall between November the 1st to the 2nd. For Tottenham, it will be another busy week for them, and essentially where we'll have a few days before our home tie against Liverpool. So we have got, in this Champions League involvement, we've got some really big games in there, Leicester City, at Liverpool. Again, I agree with what you said, Jace, that these teams will not be wanting to face Tottenham in those gaps, will they either? 100% they won't be.
And let's be honest. You've got to play 38 fixtures. You're going to have Champions League games, cup ties, internationals. You're not going to get 38 perfect fixtures where you don't play any of those teams on the dates you want. We don't decide the fixture list and think, well, it's Champions League away, so I tell you what, we'll have Brentford at home in that one, and we'll have this one and that one. You can't do that. So, and when you just look at Tottenham's fixture list, you spot those things. But I bet if you look at Chelsea's fixture list, or certainly Manchester City's and Liverpool's have got ours in there, and I'm sure they'll have other big games. Maybe Liverpool have got a Man United or a Manchester City or a tough game at Newcastle or something in straight on top of a Champions League game. So I shouldn't think that fixture list is any crueler to us than it is to any of the sides. And even Woolwich and Man United will be playing Europa League group games in those stages. And they'll be thinking, hold on, Thursday, Sunday, we've had a trip to Dynamo dog shit and teams like that. So, I mean, it's not even suits them, does it? So let's, don't worry too much. Every team will have a difficult fixture list at certain stages. They'll think, that's a tough run, would sooner that. But over 38 games, mate, you can't complain.
Isn't it nicer this season to you could say things like Dynamo Cheeky Girls and Dynamo Donuts and we're not in it. Isn't it lovely? I know I don't want to put the knockers on it now. We fall down rapidly, but it's a bloody nice feeling.
You've got to go back to, I know things are changing, Frank, you're absolutely bang on in terms of the bar raised by City and Liverpool at the moment. But back when Poch took over, 2013-14 season, and then 14-15 season, and then that following season when we challenged, the points total in that league win was horrendous. I mean, we ended up finishing 3rd, even though in my head it was 2nd, with 70 points. Like 72 points. I've banged on about it so many times. Everyone must remember this, right? 72 points gets you top 4, literally, on average, across 12 seasons in the Premier League. So as long as you can get in and above that, I mean, on our current win-to-loss ratios under Conte, under 28 games that he played, I think we'd accumulated something like 76 points. And that is with, back-to-back defeats against Southampton and Wolves, and losing twice to Chelsea and losing to Burnley away, and these sorts of things. If we can eradicate them, there's probably 13 points easily that you can think maybe we could have. I know football don't work like that, but you've got to have some sort of method around going out there with a pre-season, with the new squad, with the new players. Surely we're going to improve on our 71 points from this year.
There's Jace. We can hear it. We can hear the echo in the background of the wonderful theme. We could
I fancied a bit of music. That's all. A bit of music. I don't know. It was something about it.
Happy birthday to Jean Johnson. Johnson. Jean's your birthday today, mate. So happy birthday to you. I hope you're enjoying it. You got the old Springsteen tickets, I think, for his birthday. So it's his birthday today, mate, and he's tuned in to us.
And always Richard would come on here. Crackers, of course. Dynamo Cheeky Girls and Leggier Trousers. We can't wait to watch and sit on a Thursday night and watch them on the box doing that. Right, very quickly, guys. Festive fixtures and the first fixtures after the World Cup in Qatar. So Brentford v Spurs, Boxing Day, Spurs v Villa, New Year's Eve. Crystal Palace v Spurs, 2nd of Jan. FA Cup third round will be between the 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th of January. As we mentioned earlier, it will feel like 2 campaigns almost rolled into one. How teams manage that long 6-week gap is going to be very interesting, because you do feel whoever manages that best, guys, in terms of the top teams, are going to win the league. That's the reality, and please God, we're up there and we're fighting for it. But I think the good thing for Tottenham is when you look at the festive period, we're actually staying in London, which is a really positive thing for Tottenham. Ahead of the World Cup, Spurs, we have 2 home games, which will hopefully give us a good opportunity to get maximum points before the break. There are a couple of tough runs, though, to be spotted in terms of the beginning of the new year. Coming over to you, Frankie, we've got Man City, Leicester, West Ham, Chelsea, all in a row. That's obviously subject to those games staying in that run in order and not being moved. Any concern, Frankie, about that start to the year?
I think the West Ham game might be moved because they're in the conference. So you're right. Potentially there might be a little bit of a rejig, but I think a lot of these other clubs are in a similar situation to us, particularly Chelsea. They've got lots of internationals. I think that the 2 big players that seem to be missing out will be Erling Haaland of City and Mo Salah of Liverpool. They're not going to the World Cup. So that's a plus for them. But off the top of my head, I think Chelsea, every sort of big player or main man for Chelsea will be going to the World Cup. So it'll be as tough for them. West Ham, their main man, Declan Rice, he'll play every game in the World Cup for England. He's become integral to our England team. Top player, he'll be there. So again, the fatigue will be a factor, in my opinion, particularly post-Christmas, in that little spell between sort of January to March. It will be really difficult for everyone to not only find the rhythm, as Lee and Jason alluded to, but just muscle injuries. I mean, you can be as fit as a fiddle. You can talk about how much money these guys are paid. They're athletes. You can't get away from overworking muscles. It's a game of sprints, as I say time and time again. And there's so much congestion this season. And the World Cup, the intensity there in the heat. I know it's aircon stadiums, but all of these variables will be a factor in how the season plays out. So we can look at that period and say, yeah, it is difficult. Obviously, there's some big games coming up, subject to change, but everyone is in the same boat. And they really are. And this is why, for me, it is quite fortunate. And it won't, again, they won't like me saying this, not that they'll hear it, but we do have a couple of players that I think will be key for us in Kulusevski. For me, the best 22-year-old in world football. I don't want to have a conversation with anyone else about that, but he is. And Bissouma, who I believe will be key players, are not going to that World Cup. Now, obviously, there's the argument which we covered, that how will they find their rhythm? But by January, by February, they would have got that rhythm back, and they won't have that petrol in the tank of the World Cup. So it's just so hard to judge it, because we can go round and round and round and go through all the variables of the fixtures, where we play and all the rest of it, but it will be difficult for everyone. And again, I'll just go back to what I said, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this is why it's all about having the squad, having the depth, having the players to come in and do as good a job as the players that aren't playing, because this has been our biggest problem for years now. If a Harry Kane or a Son gets injured, we haven't got any, even half or a quarter or a fraction of the quality to come in and at least fill that role adequately or semi-adequately. And I think now this is what they're trying to build. And I'm not saying you can replace Kane or Son. They were just 2 examples, but the drop in level isn't as big as if you miss these key players by having a good squad.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I mean, when you talk about the preparation, that Brentford game could actually be awkward on Boxing Day, because we will have had players at the World Cup for sure.
Yeah,
and you don't know what we'll be doing in the run up to that Brentford game. Brentford will pretty much have a settled side, because not too many of them will be. They might have a couple of people in the Danish squad, but overall, you feel like Brentford, of their 25-man squad, probably 22, 23 of them will still be around. So that they'll be able to genuinely prepare for that Tottenham game. And it could be
a really good point.
It could just come out of the blue, and it may be that we're 4 or 5 players that are caught up in World Cup hangover or whatever. So, that's the strange thing this year. A fixture like Brentford suddenly could look a lot harder than a Liverpool fixture, because of the type of year you'll be, which is unusual.
Yeah. What I will say, guys, I know we don't want to pay too much attention because these fixtures can move, but it does feel like February and March are that defining periods if those fixtures are going to stay as they are at the moment. I mean, I think once you kind of move on and we look to conclude, I say, this chat on the fixtures, that the final, 6, 7, 8 games of the season, you look at May, for example, obviously the final month, Palace at home, Aston Villa away, Brentford at home, and finishing across Leeds. It doesn't appeer on paper that daunting, does it? It's not that daunting.
Well, that doesn't matter because we've won the league at home to Palace.
Yeah. You'd have that, wouldn't you? I mean, look.
So, the Villa, Brentford and Leeds games are pre-season friendlies for next season after that because we've won the league against Palace. So we're preparing for a Champions League final and a cup final and going for everything. So it's just not a big problem.
Quadruple, mate. The quad.
Harvey White. You can play Harvey White and Niall John and that against Villa, so that you can rest your big boys ready for the semi-finals of the Champions League by then.
Jobs are good. Look, just on that December fixtures, I know you just rattled through that before, and Frank answered on that, but on the December fixtures, in and around that December, I just need to draw your attention back to the Jose Mourinho era, because there's a few comments in there going, "Oh, we're nowhere near 86 points. We're never going to get 90 points." Well, under Pochettino, we did in the 16-17 season, which was only 2 seasons after he joined, and under Jose Mourinho, we were top of the league after 12 games. Top of the league after 12 games. And if we can do that under Jose with the shit show that was, what can we do under Antonio Conte? And the other key thing for me is that it's not just Tottenham fans that are talking about league pushes for the league or Antonio Conte and what he can do. It's a lot of other people. And I remember when all the media, all they were talking about in the pre-season was Liverpool. And that the previous season, they got 75 points. I've said it already tonight on the show, and I'm saying it again, and they swung to 97 points. Now, explain to me why we can't do that. Why Liverpool can and we can't?
Do you know what, Lee? Do you know what that was off the back of? That was off the back of 3 or 4 key signings. Obviously, Van Dijk came earlier than Alisson and Fabinho, but that's 100%. All it takes sometimes. If you get your spine right, that's so important. And again, let's not forget that this window's obviously going to be important, but the January window, getting those 2 in, have changed this team massively. They've added so much quality. And that was not too dissimilar to Liverpool. We've got Van Dijk in January, and then in the summer they went back. They got Shaqiri, Fabinho, Alisson. They added to the squad. They added key players to the squad, and the whole dynamic changed. So it's not impossible. And also Antonio Conte. Look at how he's improved the likes of Ben Davies and Eric Dyer, and we've been over this millions of times. But you are telling me, and Simon Jordan, who's brilliant on TalkSport, has said this many a times. Pound for pound, he's up there with Klopp and Guardiola for me. This guy is a world-class manager at the top of his game. His energy is infectious. His coaching methods are second to none, and there is no reason why, with all of these little ingredients put together, that we can't improve our points tally as much as Lee is saying. I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm not being a typical delusional Spurs fan, as rivals may call me, but there is no reason, if we continue to sign the right players and we back this manager, that we can't up our points tally by 20 plus points. There's no reason for me.
100%, 100% agree with you. Literally word for word. It's exactly what I'm saying, man. We can. Look, we might not, and we might not do it, but
it's not impossible. It's not impossible.
So what if we don't do it? But it's possible. Go for it. Think about it. It's better to, give something a go than just shy away from a bit of ambition. This bloke wants to win stuff proper. He don't want to win no League Cup. I'm not disagreeing with Cracks, by the way. We need to win a cup, and I think we will. Got a very good chance of winning the cup. But this bloke's after the big fella. He's after the big boy, man. I'm telling you, the crown on top.
No, I agree. I mean, I think just very quickly to conclude it, I mean, the end of the season does look better on paper once you do get United out of the way. And we've obviously got Liverpool away as well in that kind of combo. So within those first few days in late April. And then finally, Conte's men, we're going to welcome Palace on May the 6th before facing Aston Villa away, then Brentford at home, and then finishing, of course, with the Champions League, with the Premier League, of course, being raised aloft by Hugo Lloris on, of course, the 28th of May. We're looking forward to that. Listen, lots to come and so much excitement in the air. What we will do is we will go for our next break of the show for our listeners on audio. For our watching audience on YouTube, there's nearly, I think, between 500 600 of you watching us live. Thank you so much for all your incredible support. I think it's the time where lots of you have been waiting for it, apart from one man in the room, and that's Jason McGovern. It's time to dip our toes into the transfer window. And do you know what? We are going to start with the man who can't hack it and detest it, only to discuss, of course, an imminent signing for Tottenham. They're closing in on the signing of Bissouma. Obviously, he's passed his medical today. We understand they've crowbarred him in at the lodge. He's not going anywhere. Don't worry. We're not letting him out. Jace, firstly, your thoughts on Bissouma? It looks like an initial fee of 25 million. It could raise to over 30 due to various add-ons. Happy? Excited? Thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. He was a player that bossed a couple of games against us last year. Bossed a number of games. He's a player I've liked ever since he laughed at the Emirates on the last day of the season. Walked around there, players laughing his head off at them. I mean, that instantly got him a few likes from Tottenham, didn't it? But no, it's the price. It's an excellent price as well. A player like that is a 60, 70 million pound player normally, isn't it? And we've taken advantage of that contract situation. Fantastic signing, and it, as Lee said, it gives you so many more options in that centre of midfield. So I like signings, mate. I like signings when they sign. What I don't like is Fabrizio Romano telling me who we're going to sign in 3 weeks' time when he's had his bowl of pasta and things like that. He told me we were signing Bastardi, and that he'd agreed terms, everything was agreed. He'd all said he absolutely can't wait to work with Conte, and then it finds out he wants to stay in Milan and doesn't want to go anywhere near Tottenham. So they're the types of transfers I hate. One that comes along and says Sky Sports breaking news: Spurs have agreed a fee with Brighton. That's the type of transfer story I love. Jamie Brown didn't tell me. Romano didn't tell me.
Oh, the wonderful Jason McGovern. Frankie, let's come over to you. I know it's a player I think you rate very, very highly. I mean, Spurs have taken advantage of the fact that, as Jason mentioned, just the 1 year remaining on his contract. No hope really of them getting him to sign an extension. I mean, he will become Spurs' third signing of the summer, of course, after Fraser Forster and Ivan Perisic. Just how excited are you, Frankie, by the imminent arrival of Yves Bissouma?
I'm so excited. This is a player that I've wanted for 2 years. I've been saying he'd be perfect for Conte ball since Conte came in. I think that the fee is ridiculously low. It works out 30 million euros, which is about 25 sterling. Press resistant, aggressive midfielder, suits that system, in my opinion. Had Kane in his pocket at our place, if we're being honest. I know Kane had been to America and been at the golf, but he was a monster. He outclassed us in the home fixture against Brighton where they won. And he's been to big stadiums. He's been to Stamford Bridge. He's been to the Emirates and put on masterclasses and how to play central midfield. And for me, this is just a fantastic addition to the squad. Right age as well, 25 years old, fantastic fee. And echoing what Jason said, I like signings like this. We all thought there might be a chance. We didn't really know. He was linked with Villa. He was linked with Liverpool. There was no noise, was there? It didn't drag for 2 weeks. We didn't have a confirmation that Spurs are talking to, liaising with, agents are in talks, flirting with, whatever you want to call it. It just got done. We heard from Gary Jacob at the Times that the deal had been agreed. He wanted to come to Tottenham, and within days it was done. And this is the business, and this is the noise, so to speak, that I like. The noise I don't like is so-and-so's agreed, like Jason said, and then 3 days later, there's a complete different opinion on the player, and this is how we should be doing our business. And as I said earlier in the show, I think there was a bit of a lesson learned from the Luis Diaz scenario that news had leaked that we'd made an offer, and ultimately he ended up going to Liverpool. And there was a bit of a hysteria there from the fans. And again, it didn't really reflect well on Levy, I don't think, or how to conduct business. It's not how you should do business. This is how you should do business. And this negotiation at this fee, at this price, is fantastic for Spurs. And is it a 5-year deal, chaps? Is that what he's agreeing?
Not sure.
Between 4 to 5 years, we'll get the confirmation
5-year deal
tomorrow. Yeah.
So we'll get the prime out of him. 25 to 30 years old. We'll get his peak years out of him.
Yep.
And as I said, a great addition to the squad, and I can't wait to see him in the Spurs shirt. Can't wait to see him take Winks' number 8.
I know Jamie shared a video earlier to the group. I did see that. Does it come on?
And be well happy.
I'll tell you what.
No disrespect to Winks there. I didn't mean it in a disrespectful way, but it probably looked likely if Winks does go, then he'll wear the number 8 shirt, and that's for me a proper number 8 in the middle of the park. He's got a bit of everything. Fantastic signing.
You know what's interesting? I wonder, kind of you, Lee, does this affect Højbjerg's position at the club? Number one, what I want to say is that we need a competitive squad. So for me, I still think that we need a creator in the midfield. But by the fact you've got Bissouma and you've got Højbjerg and you've got Skip and you've got Bentancur, I mean, Spurs have got quite a number of prominent options next season. Do you think this affects Højbjerg's standing within the club in terms of the amount of game time he'll get?
No, I think game time, yeah, and they'll probably welcome that because the bloke played way too many games. I think he was only second to Harry Kane last season. And
both
this
seasons.
Both seasons, sorry, Jace. Okay, so even worse. So again, this is where football fans make me laugh because they'd be like, Højbjerg's not very good. He's, and you look at he's been running to the ground, this, that, and the other. And then when he's like, we get a new signing to come in to share the workload, Højbjerg's going to be dropped. It's like, it's not. It's just going to be a situation where they're sharing the workload a little bit more. I have to big up Frank because on the WhatsApp group for months, for years, since we've been on the WhatsApp group together, he has talked about Yves Bissouma. He has said, get this bloke in, and we've got him in. It's absolutely fantastic. So big up to Frankie on that. And I think he's a beast. I think he's a different player. I don't think them four players are the same players. I actually think Bissouma is somebody that can hold the ball, take it in very tight areas, very Dembele-esque, can turn, can move, can push the ball. That transitional, that pivot or that transition from defense to attack and being able to shrug off and hold that press, if you like, shrug the press off. That's what he's very, very good at. Very good at. And I think that it might, when they play together, because they will, like Bissouma and Højbjerg will play together. I think when they play together, you'll see a different side of Højbjerg. He'd be the one that, he got forward a few times this season. He's had a few shots. He's had a few assists. He's had a few goals, dare I say. Like Højbjerg, I know he's had a couple in the Premier League. But the point I'm making is that when you see him play for Denmark, he plays in a slightly different position for Denmark than what he kind of naturally does for Spurs. And I think that Bissouma is the guy that's going to be, to quote Crackers again about Højbjerg being a dustman. I think Højbjerg gets freed up a little bit when he plays with Bissouma because Bissouma is the guy that's going to be the bloke picking up. Like Dembele, he never really, not Dembele, sorry, he never done anything. Dembele, he never scored a lot of goals, did he? He didn't score and assist a lot of goals. I mean, I remember, was it the penalty that he won against Arsenal when we drew 1-1 and it was Kevin Wimmer gave away was it handball or something? I can't remember, but he burst into the box, Moussa Dembele, but he didn't really do that in the final third, did he? Too much. I think what we've got.
He controlled tempos of games.
Yeah, exactly.
His numbers weren't great, but the game isn't all about numbers, and
no, it wasn't. But when you look at his dribbling and his press resistance and the ability to get past people and all this stuff is. They are massive. Their numbers are big, like 90%, 95% worth of dribbling and tackling. And, I think he was one of the hardest defenders to dribble past, defensive midfield players to dribble past last year. So that's what we're getting. We're not getting a progressive, person that's going to score goals and assist. That's not what we're getting with Bissouma, but we are getting, in my opinion, an absolute class defensive midfielder that's going to enable us to keep the ball, win the ball back really quickly, and in transitions, get the ball to the danger men, which is the Kanes, the Sons, and obviously the best 22-year-old in the Prem, the Kulusevskis.
In the world. But also, we're talking about how quickly players settle. He's not even going to have to move home that far. No. And this is a massive factor. He knows the league. He's been in for a couple of seasons, seasons. And from his actual home where he lives now, he'll just have to move 50 odd miles or whatever. So he won't be unsettled. And again, these things matter. These players are human beings at the end of the day. And that is huge for me as well. He's not going to have to move that far. He knows the league and he should slot in and settle in seamlessly.
Yeah, but it's interesting what you boys said there about, stats-wise. I mean, we know that probably one of his biggest advantages is the fact that he can dribble well into open spaces. He's got that real composure to maintain possession, which is something I think Spurs have sometimes really struggled with, but always doing it in difficult positions. And we actually saw that against us, I think, in the fixture only recently, the way he dictated the game there. And I think when you watch him against us,
he scored against us in the cup tie as well, didn't he?
He scored against us, but Jason, he's always had really good games against us. I've always come away thinking, whenever we've played them, Bissouma's played well.
Backfield in the final third and all sorts of stuff.
And even against the, Bissouma, he's a player that's really well known for playing really well against the top sides. And that's exactly what Tottenham need. A player can come in and play well against the big teams and not go hiding or go missing. And we talk about stats. We know one of them here that he made more tackles and interceptions per 90 minutes than any other Spurs player last season. On top of that, he averaged a tackle or interception every 16.8 minutes in the Premier League, more frequently than any other player in the Premier League. Jace, for stats like that, I mean, he's exactly what we're going to need, isn't it, next season with the amount of games we've got coming up?
Super player. As I think, as Frank says, it's his ability to take the ball in tight areas when you're being pressed and not panic, not lose control, just be able to drop that shoulder and then play the forward pass, and that's what helps you beat the press. So we've needed that player that can handle being pressed. We've got one. We haven't had it since Moussa Dembele. We all thought that's what Ndombele would be able to do. It wasn't.
No, it's so true. And that's not Højbjerg's biggest strength. Højbjerg, probably his weakness, to be fair to him, is when he's being pressed. And he's under pressure and he doesn't see the picture quickly sometimes and he can't get out. And I think this is, again, it's all about, as Jose said, I know we've alluded to him a couple of times, leading earlier, and obviously he's not the favourite manager of Spurs, is he? But he said a squad is like a puzzle. And it's so true. You need to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and you also need a bit of everything. And he adds something that we haven't got. It just gives us greater balance and more options as well to play different teams with, because every game is different, of course.
Totally agree. Danny says Bissouma is our Kante. And do you know what? It's fun. I think he is. You look at the, and then again, another great stat. He had the best tackle completion rate for midfielders in the 21-22 season. The only other player above 60% was N'Golo Kante with 65.6. Bissouma slightly above him, 66.7. So everything points towards Bissouma being
he's playing for Chelsea.
Signing.
Kante's playing for Chelsea. With great respect to Brighton, they don't score a lot of goals anyway. So when we talk about that creative element of them, they hadn't been scoring a lot of goals until kind of the back end of the season. And he's playing in a Brighton side, and Kante's playing. Rodri. You would maybe compare him to a Rodri, would you, like in a Man City, or a Fabinho maybe in a Liverpool? But Fabinho's and Rodri's, they're playing for Liverpool's and Man City's. Like, this guy's coming in with them sorts of stats and playing for a team that's finishing mid-table. So what's he going to do under a Conte pre-season and then playing alongside the likes of Perisic, who's a Champions League winner, a World Cup winner, and Hugo Lloris, Kane, who's like the Golden Boot GOAT, as is Son, Kulusevski, best 22 in the world. This guy's going to be like, hang on, he comes across as somebody that believes he can go and do this business, and he's not an unknown. Like Frankie said, he's been in the Premier League for 3 seasons. This is exactly the type of signing that we need at our football club, and I'm massively impressed with what's going on. Long may it continue. Where's the next one, people?
Well, I'm going to ask you. Next sign. I want to ask you. Listen, the next signing may not be another midfielder, but do we need any more? This is what I'm really queried to know, Jace. When you look at that squad now, do you think we need more? Do we need a creator in that midfield? Do we need an Eriksen, a locksmith for you to complete the actual central midfield?
I would take Eriksen, yes.
Okay,
definitely.
Jason, do you think Eriksen wants to come to us with all this sort of dithering?
I don't know how much dithering is really going on. They've only just finished, isn't it? He's entitled to sit down and look at his options and see what they are. I think. What's the rules in Spain about playing with monitors? Because I think Eriksen has always wanted to go to Barcelona, and Barcelona are signing free transfer players, and he's on a free transfer. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's had a word with his. I don't know what their regulations are on playing with the old heart monitor things. So, but if you are able to play out there, it wouldn't surprise me if he, as his agent, speak to Barcelona and say, look, would they be interested as well? And if it isn't that, then I think he'll make a move to the Premier League again. And I think we do have a great chance with him. But no, it doesn't worry me that he's taking his time over it. He's entitled to do that.
Are we all of the opinion that we need another central midfielder? Frankie, do you think we
definitely
need another one, yeah?
Going back to Conte's old Inter teams, they play 4-3-3 at times, believe it or not, but they also play 3-5-2. And there's certain setups, again, for big away Champions League games or even Premier League games where you could play Eriksen in the 3-5-2. And again, going back to the puzzle of the squad and the options and the different tactics for different games, he would be a fantastic addition to this squad. I'd have him back. He's exactly what we're missing. I'd start him in all the games against the teams that are hard to break down. He had a fantastic season at Brentford. He seems hungry. The big question is, does he want to come back to Spurs and run it back? Possibly not. He left for a new challenge. I know it's a different club now. There's a different manager at the helm who ultimately he left us for. And, you know, they know each other well, Conte and Eriksen. But it's just whether he doesn't want to come back and, you know, it's the sort of same old for him, possibly, same training ground, same sort of routine. Maybe he does want a clean slate. Maybe he wants Man United. And ultimately, whatever.
I was going to ask you,
that's
Frankie,
a money thing as well, isn't it?
Frankie, taking your Spurs hat off, the two offers, Man United and Tottenham, if those are the two on the table, it looks like Brentford now. Only the momentum over the last couple of weeks or so, it feels like it's coming towards a close, that Brentford door. And I know Adrian on the screen said that he can't sign a contract for another 2 weeks, which is maybe the reason why there's a bit of diver in there, or it's obviously not much movement.
He said he's not decided. He said he's not decided. So for me, if you were utterly convinced about and you were going somewhere with conviction, you would have decided by now, in my opinion. But I know
you
he's
could
going
just
to
say, couldn't you? You could say, I've decided, but I'm not
made my
changing
decision, and I'll tell you my decision when I get back from holiday. So obviously, this is why I'm saying he's divering. Sorry, I changed the context of what I said there. He's gathering his thoughts and he's going to make a decision. However, if he did choose Manchester United over Spurs, although we are the better project at the moment, we've got the better manager, the better squad, in my opinion. We're not the bigger club. It's still Manchester United. This is a juggernaut, one of the big super clubs in world football, whatever you think of them. And for him to go there and bring them back to you know, past glories, if possible, would be on his CV. It would look brilliant, and for him it would be great memories. But I'd love him back at Spurs.
Let's be honest with Eriksen as well, right? He probably gets 350 grand a week at Man United. He ain't getting that.
Yeah, we can't compete financially. Yeah, I mean, financially.
Just come back to Jason, just come back to something you said. I found a quick article here in the Blue Book. I've got loads of stuff in the Blue Book. And Fernandez Lozano, which is a consultant at a Madrid-based hospital, believes that Eriksen is fortunate to be playing again, as he wouldn't be past fit in Spain. However, he can legally play in Spain, so he's allowed to play in Spain with a defibrillator, with a heart monitor. But we would never see him as a footballer in Spain because no doctor would pass him fit. That's what this consultant's opinion is. Fernandez Lozano. So maybe he can go there, but maybe there's a complication that he might not be able to. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just intrigued, Lee, for you. I'll go back around to Frank as well in a second. Where do you sit on the Eriksen debate? Do you want him back, and do you think he'll come back? Two separate questions there.
I want him back, and the reason why I want him back is because the war chest, love it. The war chest is now starting to be broken into with the Bissouma deal, and I think we need the lion's share of that war chest to pay off the likes of Ndombele's contract, to take the loss, if you like, on Lo Celso, to pay for Romero, and you know all these types of deals. I know they're capex over a period of time.
Still got to pay them.
A lot of that 150 will be for that, and for new wages as well. As I think Jace and Frank, to be fair to them, Chris Cowell in the last show talked about. So I don't think that war chest there is like So to get another freebie in would be a bonus. To get a 30-year-old world-class player in Christian Eriksen would be absolutely mental. And I think he will come. I think he will. I think I think if we're using the dithering bit or the making the decision part, maybe he's thinking, can I do it under Conte? Can I do it? Can my body go? Because not being funny, he can rock up at Brentford with the greatest respect, and he can play for Franks, and he'd do a pre-season, he'd work hard, he'd do well, and he does brilliant in the Premier League. But is he gonna do the hard yards? We heard from Ali Gold so many times about how hard these pre-seasons are under Conte. Can he do that? I don't know. If I was him, I'd probably be thinking, yeah, of course I can. Like, he's probably not even thinking about defibrillating anymore. He's just probably thinking, I'm a professional footballer again and I can play. So I hope that he comes back, because I think for me, he is like you just said, Rick, he's a locksmith and he can unlock. The only bit of me that doesn't want him back, and this is such a contradiction what I've just said, is that do we just need to move on? Like you just said, does he need to move on for a fresh challenge and new face? Do we? You know, I remember when he was coming to the end of his career at Tottenham, and it weren't pretty, lads, listeners.
I think people forget this, yeah.
Can I just interject there? It's a different landscape now at Spurs. It's not Jose Mourinho where the fans are 50-50, probably 70-30 at that point in time against. It's not budget Joe Rodon instead of Skimra. There's been a sea change at Spurs. We've now also got Champions League football back. It looks like we're going the whole hog with incomings. We're going to sign more quality. And I think that it's a different Tottenham to the one that he left. So that might be a factor. I'm not saying
maybe,
it will be,
yeah. I just wonder, Frankie, if it's that whole Levy thing. You see in a documentary, didn't we, about him like going, you know, you can leave if a big offer comes in, and then he haggled and he got 20 million for it. I don't know.
We can't dismiss that. We can't dismiss it. Wasn't the nicest way to leave. You know, there is a bit of a sourness there with the hierarchy, but I do wonder with what's happened in the guy's life, what he's gone through, whether that is now water under the bridge to some degree.
I mean, I know, Jason, I know you hate this in terms of speculation stuff, but like, you know, Adrian just writes there about, you know, getting other people in as Zanelio or Milenko Savic and this kind. Well, what's ever happened to like Isco? I mean, wasn't Isco like the best number 10 like ever?
Yeah.
Like, where is he gone? Like, what's happened to him? Like, I don't know if there's other options, but I think to answer quickly, for me, yes, we need another midfielder in, but it won't be in the same mold as the 4 guys plus Winks that we've got, because they are all in the same mode, and Papa Matasar. So I think that we need, and whether or not that's a forward that comes in and deputises or plays in and against some of them front three, or it's a, you know, I think Frank made the point last time around is that actually to get an Eriksen in the side, you probably need to change the formation, because Eriksen doesn't play in a midfield 2, does he? Even under Conte, played in midfield 3. So you'd have to change the system, and maybe he will. Maybe a change of 3-5-2.
Do you know what? I think he can play on the right, because under Pochettino, I don't think I did say that. Under Pochettino, he started on the right in a 4-2-3-1 all the time and just drifted in. Sorry, not all the time, but most of the time he did. Yeah. If you remember our lineups, he was a sort of a drifting right-sided playmaker. So he could play on that right-hand side, and he could play in a 3 in the midfield. He can't play in the 2-man midfield, no chance. But let's just not pigeonhole him into we have to play 3-5-2, because for me, he could play as one of the front 3.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's what I mentioned about him being part of the front line. He could be part of that front line. Like at the moment, if he was to play on the right-hand side, he'd be taking the Kulusevski role, wouldn't he? Or if he's playing on the left, he'd be taking a Son role. So, you know, it's just that puzzle bit. Whoever mentioned the puzzle thing earlier, I think that's important. But for me, I'd 100% have him back in the club. He loves the Champions League. He loves Tottenham as well. Ali Gold said that.
Spurs. I mean, you can see he loves Tottenham. Even with the Brentford game, you can see he loves Tottenham. So, I mean, listen, the Eriksen debate
as well. I mean, just on that as well was Conte. Those Conte comments about Eriksen when he came to Brentford wasn't just we wish him all the best. He was, you know, I'd love to work with him again and things like that. He went much further down the line than you'd have expected a manager. And I think I just think the other thing that Conte said during, I forget which press conference that was, when he talked about Kane, I remember him saying something like, Kane's an excellent creative player, but I want Kane to be a 9.
Yes,
he did say that. I forget which game that was. Jason, he did say that. Next season, he wants him to be a proper, true number 9.
I don't want him to drop. He wants him to be like he had Lukaku into that real focal point. So that does suggest there is room to find that really creative player behind him.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they were staying in the same hotel as well when Eriksen moved back.
Yep, that's
right.
And it wasn't just that, Jason. He said he's a fantastic human being. He's got so much admiration and respect.
So far with him, didn't he?
He went well beyond with just the niceties. So possibly, I mean, they obviously had a great relationship. It did actually take Eriksen a while to learn the Conte way.
Yeah, he didn't go straight into the team.
When he did get going, he was a vital part of the team. And they've obviously got mutual admiration and respect. So that might be a deciding factor. Who knows?
Yeah. I agree. No, I totally agree. I guess with Eriksen, if it isn't Eriksen, we obviously want somebody else for that locksmith position. And just as we look to conclude and wrap up the show, coming towards an end, of course, Spurs, Jed Spence, that still is in the wings at the moment. Looks like it's going to be, well, to some degree, I think he's on holiday at the moment. So that slowed down things to some degree. Obviously, he was away on England duty before that, but it feels like Spurs are still leading the race for Jed Spence, a player that obviously seems to be very keen to work under Conte, play Champions League football, young wing back, to be fair. Again, for me, when I've watched Jed, listen, I think he's a good young player. I'm not 1 billion% sold on him being completely 100% ready. But listen, if Conte backs himself and believes that he can do it, then obviously you've got to back Conte and you've got to believe in him. So, again, looks like that one is very close. But just want to finish up on the forward position, guys. Heavily linked over the last few weeks. And forgive me, I'm not sure if it was covered on the last show when I was away. The Richarlison link, which has got a little bit more quieter this week. Boys, I mean, I know Jason didn't seem very convinced, but I want to start with you, Lee. Richarlison, I mean, listen, he's a guy that has got that flexibility to play across the forward line. He would definitely improve our options, wouldn't he? I mean, let's be honest about it. He may not get in over Kulusevski, Kane and Son, but he's not a bad option to bring off the bench. I just query what I think Jason's going to probably say is how well will he be adapting to a bench position rather than being a first-team regular?
Which says like James Milner, yeah, of the forward line. Is that what he's like? He's a utility.
Yeah, look at Liverpool. Look at Liverpool. Sorry to interject there, just to give you a bit of a look at Liverpool. Look at Liverpool with the variety of different attackers they've got. Jota came from Wolves, £45 million. He was a starter at Wolves. He done okay at Wolves. He slotted in brilliantly at Liverpool. These players, if Richarlison would leave in Everton to go and play Champions League football at a club like Spurs, where okay, he might not start every game, but he's still going to get a lot of playing time, particularly this season. Or it doesn't have to be Richarlison, but a player of that type. So I don't buy into this, in my opinion. Will he be upset if he doesn't start? Because, again, you just look at the way that Liverpool have handled it. I'm pretty sure that the player coming to Spurs, it would be a step up. They would be playing Champions League. We'll just have to accept it and try and break their way into the team.
You know what, Frankie? If it was any other player, I would not be asking this question because I completely agree with you. The only reason I'm asking this is because of the nature of Richarlison as an individual. As the character I've seen, and I might be completely wrong, I might have misjudged him because I don't watch Everton every week. I haven't followed his career massively closely, but to me, he strikes me as a player that wants to be playing. Does that make sense, Frankie?
You can see on the pitch, obviously, he's petulant, and the antics, as Jason, before the rumours were linked to, when we talked throughout the course of the season, Jason so many times has said he drives me mad, this player. He's so frustrating. He's always diving around and rolling around and feigning injury. So that's his on-pitch character. Off the pitch, we don't know. Everton fans adore him. My girlfriend's family are all die-hard Everton season ticket holders, and they absolutely worship the ground he works on. He also works his socks off for a supposed player. Yeah. Brazilian. He's hungry, crunches into tackles. He's a workhorse.
Did he not hire a bus and a coach for a load of Liverpool fans to go to Champions?
No. Do you know what he done? You know what happened? The story goes. Somebody set up an account, didn't they, on Company's House, and it was basically a fake coach trip to the Champions League final for Liverpool fans. They all showed up waiting at the meeting point. It didn't happen. I'm not sure if money changed hands, but anyway, the director on Company's House of this newly formed company was called Richard Arlison. Now, when it all came about after the Champions League final and subsequently Liverpool lost, he put a photo of himself on Twitter in a bus driver's outfit. Something about his name being Richard. So he's got that about him. I mean, obviously, he went at Carragher as well, didn't he? He went at Jamie Carragher really aggressively when they stayed up, keep your name out of my mouth and all the rest of it. So I think he's got that bit of personality and character and bite. I think that could work for us. I think Conte likes those type of players. And again, this is a player that is going to go and work for a manager, with all due respect. I know, to be fair, he did work with Carlo Ancelotti. So he has worked with a world-class manager before. But
very briefly, though, Frankie, very briefly.
Very briefly, but he's going to a club where he's been at Watford and Everton. With all due respect, he's not played with a player like Harry Kane or Son. He's not played at home stadium like ours, or the step-up's massive. And I just feel that the profile of player we're looking for a hybrid, aren't we? We're looking for someone who can play across the front line, not just an out-and-out fixed position in that front line, like a 9, like a target.
That's where I disagree.
We want a hybrid. That's what it looks like anyway. I know. That's the profile we're looking at.
That's where I disagreed on the WhatsApp with everyone else. I tell you what, listeners and viewers, I was getting battered on the WhatsApp group for everyone else, and I was like, just go. And when you've made your bed and you just have to go after it, and I was like, no, we need number 9, but I think that's for me. That's why I made the comment about another utility player, another James Milner, because at the end of the day, we haven't signed, and Chris Callan says this all the time, on his show and on our show. Like, at the end of the day, we haven't signed a proper number 9 since, permanently since Llorente in 2017. That's absolutely ridiculous. You can't, in my opinion, look, people are going to level City do it. I understand that. And maybe football's changed. Maybe I'm a bit old school, but I just think for something different, we've already just heard it from Jace and from Frankie that have said earlier, Conte said he wants Kane to be a number 9. So when Kane's injured for 3 months, what's the number 9? Like we're going to put somebody in that position that can play.
He's good. He's good in the air, though. He's good in the air. Lee,
Yeah,
can
that's
play
what I'm saying. I just
hold
got
the
a
ball.
feeling that it's a smoke screen. I've got a feeling that Richarlison is a smoke screen, and then you stick a price on it, 71 million euros.
Yeah,
joke or whatever. It's
I can't see Spurs paying that for a player that's not going to be in the first 11. I might be wrong. I don't know. I can't see that.
I think. I think we need a forward. I think. I
100%. Yeah, we have to go. Yeah, we have.
Steven Bergwijn, right? This is my case in point, and I will shut up. Conte said he looks at Steven Bergwijn as a supplement to Kane. He can play up front. He's a striker. But he never brings him on, ever. He doesn't bring him on at all. So he doesn't think
he can't play with his back to goal. Richarlison's a different player in a sense.
Maybe
he can play that 9 man.
But you got like Jesus number 9. I just think we need to go and fight. Like somebody's putting there Moussa Dembele, the one that went from Celtic and all that sort of stuff. Because maybe I'm torn. I don't know what the answer is here. I think this is what's going to be the trickiest one to buy. People don't want to come because of the whole Kane thing, which is it's ridiculous, but in the same breath, it's a thing now. We've made it a thing or whatever it is. But people don't want to come as a number 9 because of the Kane thing. But if Kane can drop deep, why don't we go and buy a genuine number 9 that says I'm in the squad and to challenge Kane? Like we used to have it Defoe, we used to have a Keane, we used to have Berbatov, we used to have Darren Bent, we used to have Crouch. They were, Pavlyuchenko and Crouch. They all played the same position.
Played 2 up front though. Then it's different now. And I mean, I get what you're saying. I would go for a target man just to give us an option and a wide player like a Richarlison type. Not saying exactly him. I agree, but it just seems that that's the way that the club have proceeded.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm asking your thoughts,
This also,
Go
we can talk about Kane as a striker as much as we want, but we've just got the Golden Boot winner in our squad.
Yeah.
When do we actually think of Sonny as a genuine forward player? It's like Salah, isn't it? That is the position that players play in. And score
Salah
goals
isn't a number 9, is he? Salah's not a number 9.
Salah's not a number 9, and Sonny's not a number 9, and they both share the Golden Boot.
But we all agree though, Jace, don't we? We all agree that we are going to need another forward. Do you agree with a forward type player?
Yeah, because I think we all expect Bergwijn to leave. So you definitely need someone.
So are you saying that
what are your thoughts, Jake? Sorry, I just want to gather Jason's thoughts
please.
on Richarlison. Barring
I can't wait.
Case, because I know we've had personal chats about this. As a player, do you think he would add something to our squad?
I think he's a decent player, or a good Premier League player. When you look at the options, is what Rafinha, Richarlison. What was the other name mentioned? I can't remember what the other name mentioned.
Maximan.
Gabriel Jesus was the other one.
Gabriel Jesus. Yeah,
Gabriel Jesus is the other one.
Yeah.
He's probably as good as the other 3 for what we need. It's just the antics with him, and I think he's just have to rein those in just a little bit. I mean, the Liverpool Everton game when he was rolling around the floor, there wasn't a single Everton player went up to him. Liverpool breakaway. You're defending suddenly with one man short because he's constantly rolling around on the floor. That's not a great. There's one thing to do a Kane or to do a Son and get a sneaky penalty, but if you're rolling around the floor when your team's trying to defend and you just can't be bothered to get up because you're still, they're the types of antics that drive you mad. They're the types of things that turn an away crowd against you, and that can change the momentum of a game and things like that. So.
He's a big-time player, though, is he?
It's not his playing ability. It's all the antics you have to put up with him.
Do you think, Jace? You used to say about Lamella. We always talk about this, and we talk about loads on the show as well. But like Lamella doesn't have his big moment, and obviously Rabona, and then he got sent off. But Richarlison, I do feel that if he's your player, a little bit like Dele Alli. I think when Dele Alli's your player,
this
you
comment
actually
came in the
love him,
group
and
chat,
the other people hate him.
Yeah,
Like, and he's one of them. Like Richarlison, if he comes to Tottenham, he's Tottenham through and through. All of a sudden, we love him, and he's that bit of spite about him. He'd do them sorts of things, and actually he'd probably turn up in the big games and smash them, a huge goal. And I remember he scored against Arsenal. That's probably why I like him. Actually, he scored against Arsenal for Everton and whatever to win the match, and it was a big goal, and he loved it. So. I think the longer the links go on, for me personally, I'm getting a bit used to it, which is annoying me. I'm annoying myself because that was the same with Traore last season. I did not want Traore anywhere near our football club, and the longer it went on, the longer I started talking to you guys, and you guys making really good points. I'm thinking, actually, yeah, all right, why not? We'll give it a go, and then and that didn't happen. So
actually, if the option is Richarlison or Traore, I'm going to Everton to pick him up and drive him back.
You're going to buy. You'll have on the back of your shirt, Jason, when you next
season. I'll buy
season
him with a shirt. I mean, anything but oil boy, please. Anything but oil boy.
Well, you know what I mean. So I don't know. I still think there's another deal, almost like the Bissouma deal. I think I don't know why.
There'll be a surprise name.
In the forward line. I still think it, and I actually think it'd be a number 9.
Yeah.
Ideally, I'd love Rafinha and a proper number 9 target man type. That in a perfect world, if I could pick, that's who I'd pick.
But do you not think, Frankie, just on Rafinha? I mean, what's he going to go for, Frankie? The Leeds are looking for ridiculous money, aren't they? Do you think, or not necessarily?
Possibly, and this is why I feel personally, going back to what Lee said about the budget we've got, I think incoming money will obviously be added to this pot that we've got, and that will obviously have to go on outgoings of wages and money we owe already. But I do believe that they're going to go by, again, just reading the room and the trail of what we've been doing. I do think they're going to go big on the left-sided centre-back, 60-odd mil or whatever, and I think they'll go and do another big 60 mil on the forward. And I think this is why Eriksen makes so much sense, because it does save us a big fee. Getting an Eriksen type is going to cost you 50, 40 million on the open market. So that's what I think the club are going to do anyway. I might be wrong.
No, I think, Frank, just quick interact with Frank there if I can. I think that the left-sided centre-back, I actually think they might go higher than that. And I think I still think, and maybe this is more hope, but I still think it'd be Bastoni. And I still made some amazing comments earlier about the Italians not going to the World Cup when we talking about the internationals and stuff. He's not going, so he sticks around. And Conte, I think if we go to Inter Milan and go, look, you've tried to sell Skriniar, no one's having it. You've tried to get rid of De Vere or whatever. You can only get 9 million for him or whatever. Is 80 million euros for Bastoni? I think they sell,
and they do need money for Lukaku.
They want Lukaku back. I think they sell, and I think that would be the big statement signing. But I agree with you on Frank as well on the top half of the pitch, because the only other thing you do is some good shouts going out for Troy Parrott and all that sort of stuff, which really like Troy. I think he's going to do some good stuff, but. Do we go down that route of youth coming through like Kane did to take over from Adebayor all them years ago, and then Kane exploded and amazing? Or do we bring in a kind of a youngster behind so they're more happy to sit on the bench and wait for their time? Or do we bring in somebody? Yeah, or do we bring in somebody that goes, oh no, I'm here to play. I'm playing, mate. Like, don't worry about that. And then
the Conte will want someone for now, Lee. He won't. We want Parrott in we need Parrott in the Championship next season. Get a semi-decent club after his progress the last 6 months, and Dane Scarlett needs a loan. So if that's the case, then we need a now forward.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, let's close it on a final show for one of our own, Jamie Brown. Over to you, Jace. Does Jace have any updates on our pursuit of Destiny, a doggy?
What singles he just released? Is Blue doing a cover of one of his songs or something? I don't know. I mean,
it'll be next through the door at this rate. No, I like that. You said that. It'll be on the back of it. It'll be next coming through. Well, guys, I think, listen, transfer-wise, we'll see what happens. Bissouma looks like it's going to be next, and Jed Spence looks like, fingers crossed, he'll follow soon. I think, like you said, Lee, I think it wouldn't surprise me until there's a couple more surprises in there. I mean, how quickly did that Bissouma transfer escalate? What, a couple of days ago now? It's
exactly. Also, Rick, as well, and the lads have said this earlier, but then when Frankie said earlier that Kulusevski and Bentancur changed our entire season, no one saw them coming. No one. Like Bentancur and Kulusevski weren't even mentioned. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I know we've got a lot of listeners and viewers and that sort of stuff, but they weren't even mentioned. And all of a sudden, it was like, Looks like it's desperate. Paratici's gone back to his old club, and because he can't sign any. We were linked with that bloke. I don't even remember his name, and we'll probably never hear it again. That centre midfield player.
Amrabat.
I mean,
are you
joking me? Are you
what, the Moroccan, or the Egyptian or Moroccan, was he?
Yeah, Moroccan midfielder.
Amrabat.
From Fiorentina, was he Fiorentina?
Yeah, it kept coming up because he's. I think his agency based. I think is it based soccer. Oh, they've got quite a few Spurs players or representatives on their book. So listen.
I remember trying to convince myself he was a semi-good player. You know, he's right.
I know. That's what I know. It'd be all right. That's what the Arsenal are doing with this new signing they've just had, by the way. This Vieira bloke. They're trying to convince themselves.
22 years old and not one senior Portugal cap. I'll just leave that there.
It's always a worry when you look up at YouTube on their highlights and it's like Sofiane Amrabat or whatever. His highlights last like 48 seconds, which includes him walking out on the pitch and kicking the ball in the warm-up. And a replay of one clip 3 times, you start to think this is looking a bit desperate now, boys, isn't it?
That's like
especially when you look at
bad times.
Especially when the Kudu's one was like quite a long frame. That one, the compilation for Kudu. But I mean, listen, it's great to see so many smiles and so many happiness at the moment. It's a great time. Listen, we've got a really big summer in store on Last Word On Spurs. So many shows coming your way. Lots of transfer content for the delight of Jason McGovern, who's going to definitely turn off now. But I think I say
one question to answer.
Go on, Jason.
What is happening to Tongi?
I think he's going to go with. Well, I think, like Lee said earlier, I reckon he'll be. Where? What? Where would he go?
I reckon we might end up cancelling his contract. I mean, didn't John put a tweet out?
That'd be 3 years.
John put a tweet out from Lily White Rose the other day saying that his total contract value, I think it was something like 120 million. Like if you put,
I don't think they won't write up 120 million.
No. If you put the transfer fee on it. So, so if you take a transfer fee, what's he on? 200 grand a week? Did he sign a 5-year or 6-year contract?
10 million a year contract, more or less, isn't it?
Okay, so 60 million contract value if you sign a 6-year contract. That is absolutely insane. So he's already had 3 years of that. So you've got another 3 years. So you've got about best part of 27, 28 million quid to write off, plus no transfer fee.
I think, like you said, Lee, I think they'll use a lot of that 150 million injection to take a massive hit on the likes of Lo Celso, the Ndombele's, Winkses, for example. I mean, that these players are going to go. They will definitely go. I
At least there's but there appears interest in Lo Celso from Spain from a number of
three teams on Lo Celso. I still stand by.
And Ndombele, I just can't see it. Your best hope is maybe to loan him and get that club to cover some of his wage for the season. Yeah. But who the hell even wants to loan him?
Well, he done himself no favours last season, did he? Really by that loan. I mean, it came across. Obviously, didn't. I think played 7 or 8 games at most starts.
Do you still think he'll win the Ballon d'Or for Bayern Munich?
Not the footballing one. Maybe on FIFA. I tell you.
I mean, I think Brian Hill will probably go back out on loan again. Yeah. I think he's probably one for it, maybe to sell on for a profit without even playing for the club. Maybe. And Ndombele's a nightmare. Lo Celso, I think, will get a deal. Burger King or Adrian says McDonald's are looking for staff as well, so he can go anywhere. But I think that is. I think that's the other thing that's really impressed me about this transfer window, because years gone by, when Paratici and Conte wasn't in and around this, what would have been happening right now is we'd have been hearing stories going, we have to sell before we can buy, we can't bring any people in, all that stuff. That's why it's changed the whole mood of the club. The whole mood of the club, the fans, everything about it, the media, the talk about the media, the hyping us up. Don't be afraid to be hyped up. We don't want to go under the radar. We want to be out there puffing our chests out and saying, come on, you Spurs, because that's when teams start getting a complex about us. That's what happened with the Liverpool thing, and that's what we need here, and that's why getting these players in early, whilst we still got all that mess to sort out with the Ndombele's and Lo Celso's or whatever, is fair play, absolutely fair play.
Do you know what else, Lee? Another factor, getting these players in, the players that we want to push out will get the picture early. So I think, I'm not going to play because my replacement's been signed already. So if I want to play football, I've actually got to go, as well as the club are trying to push me out. I've actually got to move on. So that's also a point to consider as well.
I think spot on. No, I do. I also think a lot of those players now, Frank, as you mentioned, they probably know their time's up. They really do. So, I think a good way to close the show. Guys, thank you so much for all the love, all the comments, all the support this evening. Listen, our wonderful panel from the brilliant Frankie Major. Frankie, thank you so much. Always a pleasure, my friend.
thank you very much. Good to be back on, and it's interesting to do these shows. I know that obviously there's not a lot going on the pitch, but it's good to keep interacting and keep getting content out there. And I think that, we've had a great chat tonight. Everyone's raised great points, and also in the comments as well. So fantastic.
Yeah, you'll be surprised how quickly pre-season will come along as well. We've got lots of content coming on Last Word On Spurs, and lots coming your way throughout the summer. Don't go anywhere just yet. Jace, thank you as always. Thanks for keeping level-headed in the transfer window. That's never easy when there's so much speculation and not all like Yves Bissouma over the line quick.
I just hope we sign Joe Root, Ollie Pope and Johnny Bairstow, mate. They're the boys that we've got to be signing next.
Absolutely brilliant.
Next Friday. Get on it. Test match.
Lee, thank you as always, mate. We're back at the weekend for another show. So, looking forward to it as always, mate. And thanks so much for your time. We got there in the end, Nord or not.
Bloody Nord. I'm loving Nord. So what I did, just quickly, I downloaded Nord VPN because it had come off because it's a different laptop. And then I worked perfectly, didn't I? Not even pixelated. Nord VPN is the way to go. And also, a bit of Beavertown as well. Beavertown corner pin. Can't go wrong with that. You know where to find us all. At Last Word On Spurs. At NordVPN, at Beavertown corner pin. Talk to me. Yeah, and hit the likes, by the way.
I thought he worked perfectly the first 2 minutes of the show. Yeah. That's when he was working perfectly.
Well, listen, for the sake of our watch audience, from the brilliant Lee McQueen, the wonderful Jason McGovern, the fantastic Frankie Major, guys, please keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on, you Spurs.